What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. So today's video is unbelievably exciting. I'm so excited. This is going to be a new series. I still don't have a name for it yet, but we will eventually get there. Today we are doing an interview. So I'm interviewing my friend Mike Gorman, or he's more popularly known as Gormy Goes Keto on Instagram. He also has a podcast that I was actually featured on recently called Fat Guy Forum, where he interviews people that have been morbidly obese or are still currently trying to lose weight. So I'm really excited about this series. What I want the series to be is me interviewing people that have lost a lot of weight or are currently losing weight, and talk about the realities of morbid obesity and really get into the nitty-gritty of what that means, what that can mean to someone's body. Mike has an insane story. He at one point was at his heaviest 540 pounds, and he ended up losing a ton of weight, got to around 200 pounds, and then he ballooned back up to 480 pounds in 6 months. So, and then he's now currently losing the weight. He is down to about 200 pounds right now. So he has an incredibly interesting story. So I'm very, very excited for you guys to check this out. So without further ado, let's get into the interview. Mike, thank you so much for being the first person to be on this series that still doesn't have a name. So we'll figure that out at some point.
There you go.
So I'm really excited. You were like the first person that came to my mind when I thought about starting this series, because I know from being on your podcast and stuff, we talked a little bit about your journey. I know that you were trying not to talk too much about your journey because the people that listen to your podcast were like, we've heard it a million times. Okay, we get it. Right. So I'm excited to have you on my channel and have you talk about your journey. Your story is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. And I'm really excited for people that are watching this to hear it and to like hear what you've been through and the things that, I mean, your weight has almost taken your life 2 times now, right?
Right.
Like that's unbelievable to me. So I'm really excited. So if we could kind of just get started. So your heaviest weight was 540 pounds, right?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
So how did you get to being 540 pounds?
I ate a lot. There was a lot of food involved. No, I was a big kid. I started out really young, big, and I just got bigger and bigger. And as much as I tried dieting throughout my life, I never really committed to it. I was too enraptured with food. I firmly believe I have a severe food addiction. And then I just built a life that enabled that behavior, that reinforced it. So I looked for work that allowed me to be as sedentary as possible and provide me with the food I needed access to. And I ate and gained and would make weak attempts to lose weight, but eventually it was the mid 2000s that I passed 500 pounds. And the highest weight that I saw was 540 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, it's and life at that size is a completely different frame of reference. It's not 20 pounds you need to lose. It's 300 some odd pounds you need to lose. And so it starts to become like an avalanche where food was all I lived for, because it was really all I could do was eat. So I kept doing it. I somehow found motivation eventually to try to lose weight. And that was in like around 2011 and 2010, 2011. And in 2013, I got down to 210 pounds. And that was a goal for my 40th birthday, was to hit 210 pounds. And I did that, and I was very excited. And I spent most of that journey just focused on numbers and losing weight, and didn't think about anything else involved. And didn't think about how I had defined my life as being a big guy, as being the fat guy. That was everything about who I was in terms of building my identity.
Yeah, that's one of the craziest things is it becomes your identity, right?
It does. Completely.
You become, like, for me, I was the funny fat guy. That was who I was. And I would have friends that would, like, joking around, but they would be serious. Like, if you lost weight, like, you're not going to be funny anymore.
Right.
And I would be like, well, whatever. But I was like, that's actually, I think that's kind of true. Because, like, if you think about it, like, comedians, like, I was this is off topic a little bit, but I was watching Jim Gaffigan. He has a new special that's on Amazon, and his half of his special is him making fun of how he's overweight, which he's barely overweight. Like, he's
Yeah.
not even that large. But I was thinking, I was like, if he lost the weight, he would lose half of his comedy.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
before we go any further, because I know that
Yep.
you have a crazy weight regain story,
Yep.
I want to talk about what it was like getting up to 540 pounds, because
Yep.
I think that it's such a big number, and it's hard
Mhm.
to, for people that have never even been maybe 300 pounds, it's hard to imagine what that's like. So if you could kind of look back on
Yeah.
the habits that you had, what would you say were obviously you were overeating, but
All right.
like how much, like I'm curious about like how much were you eating, and like did you really feel like, oh, this is I'm eating because I love myself and I just love doing this so much, you know, because that's
Yeah.
kind of a new thing that's going around now is,
Oh, yeah.
if you want to eat whatever you want, eat intuitively, which I think can be a good thing for some people, but I think that can be a really terrible piece of advice for some people that
yeah.
are addicted to food, right?
Oh yeah. That was me. I was all about saying that I was happy being fat. I didn't mind it. There were no problems. That was the public face that I put up. And I said that to friends, even intimately, you know, don't worry about me. I'm very happy. I'm very happy. But in the meantime, I was seeing symptoms of diabetes arrive. I used to get open wounds on my legs that would seep clear liquid. Like my legs were like water balloons filled with fluid. And to enable myself to still eat, I would say, it's okay. You know, this is just how I'm meant to be. This is how I'm meant to live my life. And I started to build into my head that I would just eventually die young. And I know that's something you've talked about before, but I had just really decided, this is how I'm happy. This makes me happy. I got such a high from eating like that. And it was the whole world. I built my world that way. Like, you talk about what life at 540 pounds is like. I could barely stand for 5 minutes. Walking out to my car, I would be out of breath. I knew that I would be out of breath. And everyone knows the stories when you talk about not fitting in chairs and breaking things and all of that big people go through. Like, you start to decide that you're not going to go to places that you can't walk to, and that you're not sure if you're going to be able to fit. And then I started to avoid family situations because I didn't want to do I couldn't do the physical activity involved. And I didn't want them to see me because I didn't want them to worry. I wanted them to think I was happy and everything was great. So you start to pull back and start to create this really kind of small world, which is, you know, why when I lost the weight, it was like I had opened those doors again, but I wasn't ready to be in that world. Like, I wasn't really ready to be a part of it. And so, like you alluded to, like I had a spectacular fall after I hit that goal.
Yeah, so take me through that, because again, so you lost all that weight, you got down to, you said 200 something pounds, right?
210 pounds.
So you lost like 300 pounds.
Oh yeah.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So you lost that weight, and then let's talk about the next step that happened.
Oh yeah. So people talk about cheat meals and how they, you know, a cheat day and things along those lines. And I went on a vacation and decided I had earned a cheat meal because I was so good when I was on the vacation that I started a cheat meal that turned into a cheat weekend, that turned into a cheat week, that within 3 days of deciding to have that cheat meal, I had decided that I wasn't happy losing weight and that I missed eating the way that I used to eat so much that I was willing to quit the diet, that I just gave it up. And when I say I gave it up, I think people hear that and they think they've gone off the rails before. I went off the rails. I smashed down the side of the mountain, and I took the train tracks with me. Like, there are going to be people out there listening to this or watching this that are not going to believe it, and that's fine. I've got pictures to show them. In the first week of May of 2013, I was 210 pounds. By October of 2013, I was 480 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So in less than 6 months, I gained 270 pounds.
Wow.
And that was, I've broken down what I was eating. Like I work with a coach.
I want to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually, at one point, I entered into my tracking app for him. He wanted to know. He's like, think about like a bad day. back during that time and enter that in and tell me. And I stopped at 27,000 calories.
Wow.
Yeah. And I wasn't done. But that's when I messaged him and was like, I'm at 27,000. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, no, I'm not done. And he's like,
Jeez.
okay.
Wow.
I was getting up and getting fast food on my way to work. I was getting donuts as I was about to walk in the door. I was eating the lunch I brought to work and going to get fast food for lunch. I remember every day driving home from work then, that summer, I would go to Wendy's because there was a Wendy's right near my office. And I would get 6 junior bacon cheeseburgers and a Biggie Coke.
Wow.
And that was my snack for the drive home. I had a
Yeah.
15-minute drive home, and I
Oh
would
my
finish.
gosh.
Yeah, and I would finish that in 15 minutes. And I used to order them without lettuce because they would be fresher if you ordered them without lettuce. You know, that was the my fat guy
trick.
trick. You know, order a slight deviation, and then you get a better, a fresher product. I was doing that every day. I got to the point that I was going to the Burger King across from my work so often that when I would not go, the next day the manager would ask me if I was okay. Uh,
Wow. So what, I mean, I'm sure that you've been asked this every time you tell that
yeah,
story, but like what was going through your head? Because I mean, you had to have been going
yeah,
through like a massive case
mhm,
of denial, right?
yeah,
So like what daily was going through your head? Do you think that it was, because I truly do believe that if you're just relying on willpower for
yep,
everything, right, for your weight loss, like that's a finite thing and it will eventually run out. Like when
right,
I was struggling with binge eating, I would have really good willpower for about 3 to 4 days and eat too little, to be
oh
honest,
yeah,
and then I would binge because my willpower, it would, like I could feel it creeping up, right? I could feel the binge coming up. Do you think that like you just like used so much of your willpower when you
yeah,
lost your weight the first time that it was like you just didn't care anymore,
yeah.
or was it something
Yeah.
else?
I definitely stopped caring. I think I reached a burnout point. I think at that point, I had deprived myself mentally because I took away the one thing that I thought made me happy. And I always kept in my head that you could always eat again if you wanted to. I always kept that switch there, like it would be possible to go back if I wanted to. And because I'm one of those stubborn guys where, like, for me, I had to be choosing to go back to eating. Like it couldn't be the food was controlling me. I couldn't accept that. I had to be, you're doing this because you want to do this. Like I had to
Mm-hmm.
tell myself that. And really what happened was I started making deals with myself. Like you're gonna eat, Monday through Friday, I'm gonna follow the way I was eating to lose weight, and then on Saturday and Sunday I'll relax. And that never worked out. Like, but
Mm-hmm.
I kept making those little bargains to convince myself to keep eating. And I had so deprived my body. Like I was starving myself and doing some disordered eating at that point, I think, as well, when I was getting down to my lowest. And I, as soon as I started eating those hyper palatable, addictive foods again, it was like giving heroin to an addict.
Mm-hmm.
And my body just wanted it and felt great. And I got an like I got a literal high from eating like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to explain it to people other than I was high 24/7 because I was eating 24/7.
Yeah.
Every moment I was awake, I was eating. I was keeping 1 pound bags of M&Ms, peanut butter M&Ms specifically, in my desk
Mm-hmm.
at work, eating 1 to 2 of those a day.
Wow.
Like there was no sense of restriction at all. I was like, and it started with me saying, I'm just going to give myself a couple days to do this. And the thing that happened was, I thought if I just went a little off the rails for a couple days, I'd gain 10 pounds, and then get back to it. I gained 30 pounds that first weekend. Um, my
Wow.
body, and obviously that's mostly fluid. I know there's people out there like, you don't gain 30 pounds of fat in 3 days. You don't.
Yeah.
But I gained so much weight so fast that my clothes were tight again. Like new clothes were not fitting. And then I felt so out of control with the food. Within that first 30 days, I put on 100 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So think about that. Like I fought this battle to go from over 500 pounds to 210 pounds. Within a month, 1 month, I was over 300 pounds again.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in my head, I threw it all away in a month. It was all gone. So why care anymore? Like it just became This is who you're supposed. So then I started really into that. This is who you're supposed to be. You're just meant to be a big person. Dieting doesn't work. And then I got heavy into telling people dieting makes you unhappy and dieting doesn't work. And so don't even try. And I'm not going to try again. And I'm going to live my life. And I had friends. It's funny. I actually just talked to, for my podcast, one of my friends tonight who knew me through this whole journey. And he talked about what it was like when I called, because he hadn't seen a picture of me for months because I was hiding from people. And he had lived like an hour or two away. And a friend of mine posted a picture from kickball on Facebook. And he saw the picture. And clearly in this picture, I've put on like 150 pounds. And it's only been a couple months since he saw me. And he texted me and was like, what the heck is going on with you? Like, what is going on? Like, you haven't talked to me. What's going on? And I started and I honestly had blocked this out. Like, I'd forgotten about this till he talked about it to me tonight. Like, I started into I was not happy losing weight. I'm not happy being a smaller person. I'm just not happy. You have to understand that I'm not happy. And eating like this makes me happy. And so he's one of those people that stays with me regardless. And I'm glad he did because he's helped me so much. But I was telling every person, because when I get down to 210 pounds from 540, I had people coming out of nowhere telling me they were worried I was going to die.
I'm sure.
Heavy. You know, we're so happy you lost the weight. We were sure you were going to die. And I realized as I was ballooning that summer, all these people are going to see me and think that I'm a lost cause, that I'm so I had to put on this strong front of everything's fine. Everything is fine. And it got to the point that I even think I bought it for a while.
Oh,
like
man.
I bought that everything was fine until I realized that, and I'll be honest with you, this is something else I realized tonight. The only reason I stopped at 480 pounds in that range had nothing to do with what I was eating or what I was doing to my body. It's because my body started to fight back. I developed diabetes. I was never diagnosed, but I clearly developed diabetes from the symptoms I had. Yeah. And one of the things that out of control diabetics have happen is they lose weight. So my body was rejecting the weight that I was putting on because I was just so out of control. And anyone who wants to argue about that, I still have residual neuropathy in my feet, numbness that comes and goes. For a long time, it was burning, hot, searing pain. I was sweating when I ate. Like I could be a doctor and tell you exactly what was happening. And, so I got up into the high 400s again, in the blink of an eye. Like, people love to joke. And I think we might've talked about this before. Like, people love to say, you don't gain the weight overnight, so you're not going to lose it overnight. I gained the weight overnight. I literally, I had that summer, and this is the freakiest thing, I want people to understand, is that summer, I woke up every day and felt bigger. I could feel the weight coming. So it wasn't ever this abstract, I know people talk about regain, and they're like, and then one day I caught myself in the mirror, and they were like, it came back. No, I went through clothes so fast that I started buying 3 or 4 sizes bigger. Wow. Because I was like, this is so out of control. I went from, I was in a large shirt to I got extra larges again to I bought some 2Xs. And then I was like, this is out of control. So then I started buying 5 and 6Xs. Because I knew
a big part of that, I did that too. Or at least mentally, when I would buy a bigger size, I would always be like, well, it's just the shirts still fit, right? The 3XL still fits, but it's kind of uncomfortable, and the 4XL is just a little bit more comfortable. Oh, yeah. But one of the things that I think is unbelievably important that we were just talking about is that mindset that you had of, oh, well, dieting's just not for me. I can't lose weight. People can't lose weight. That's one of the people love to quote that, 95% of diets fail, which isn't 100% true. I don't believe that. But I think it's really important because you could either, there's a choice that you can make there. It's either go full bore into that ideology, right? Diets are garbage. Diet culture is terrible. Everyone that's lost weight is lying that they're happy. Anyone that's losing weight right now is feeling miserable, which that's a very popular train of thought right now. Or you eventually got to, your health was failing you, but it's this isn't, I cannot be this size anymore, and I need to make a change. And I think that crossroads right there is so important for people, and it's the choice you make is kind of the side of the debate you're on with health at every size is that crossroads. And so you were at what you kind of started going down one path, and then you were like, I'm dying. Like
Oh, yeah.
literally, I am
Literally,
dying
yeah.
right now. I cannot go down this path anymore. This path, that path would have led you to death probably.
Oh,
So,
completely. And like I I don't want anyone out there who's sitting there saying that they're happy at their side. Like, I believe you can be happy. I do.
yeah.
I don't believe you can be 540 pounds or 480 pounds and 100% healthy. Like, if you might be one day, you're not going to be the next. Like, whatever. I had accepted I was going to die. Like, I had really this time around, like, it had come to me. Like, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I had written a letter to my family in case I didn't wake up that I used to keep by my bed. And it basically it was a letter saying, I want you to know that I lived a good life and I was happy, and I don't want you to worry about me anymore. Like, and I wrote this and I put it in an envelope that I kept right here by my bed. And because I was convinced at that point that there was going to be a morning that I just didn't wake up, that my heart was going to stop, that something was going to happen. And I wanted them to have those words from me. Not at all because I even 100%, like, there were points in my life, honestly, where I probably felt happy being a big person. Like, I was good with it. But at this point, I was more in this place of, I feel so out of control and I don't feel like I know what to do and I don't have a direction. So I just want to make sure that if I do die, that people don't get upset, And how realistic is that? Like, if you die, people are going to be upset. Like,
Yeah.
I know that as a sane person, but that was the insanity that I was living in. That was what I was allowing myself. Like, I was telling myself, I at that point thought I would probably not live to 45, and I was probably 43.
Yeah.
I thought it was coming. I felt that I was digging the grave, and I had dug it so deep that I wasn't getting out of it. Like, and I felt no reason to get out of it. I think it's the bigger thing. Like, I had no reason for hope because the only context I had for my life was that food was important. And it wasn't until that I saw a bigger picture that I was able to pull myself out of that.
Yeah. So now that you're, on this journey again and you're down weight, like what was going on? What have you done differently this time that maybe you feel like you feel a little bit more successful now than before when you had lost the weight?
Definitely. Well, one thing, the big thing that changed for me was every other time that I lost weight, it was because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. Not because it was what I really wanted to do, but it was because I just thought, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm big. I'm supposed to lose weight. This time around, I ran into a family situation where my parents were adopting some small children, and they had just started having conversations with myself and my siblings saying, we're going to need your help. And it wasn't being said to try to make us feel bad about anything we were doing in our lives, or me to feel bad about me being, I was 470, 480 at that point. We had all just gone on a vacation together, had this great time. But I realized that I wasn't going to be there for those people much longer. And I know there's some people listening who are going to say, so he decided to lose weight for other people. That's not at all what happened. What happened was, for the first time in my life, I realized my life had more meaning than just making me happy. And that was a good thing. Like, that was a really good thing to think about, being responsible to other people and being, and whether I ever need to actually do any of that, who knows what the future brings for people. But I knew that I needed to be alive. And so I decided I needed to be alive. So that friend I talked about earlier, I contacted him and I said, if at any point I tell you again that I'm quitting, this is what I need you to say to me. And I told him exactly what I wanted him to say to me. I wanted him to say, you are losing weight because these children might need you someday. And if you don't do this, you are going to die. And I said, those are the exact words I want you to say to me. Because I wanted, if I ever lost sight of that focus, for someone to be bringing that back to me. I needed to reach out. I needed to share what I was going through so that it wasn't just me, because I have this tendency to hide things and keep things inside. And
social contracts are really important.
Incredibly.
It can be you posting on Instagram, it could be, posting on Reddit or whatever it might be, but like having someone to talk to is incredibly, one, it's that community, but then like stating those goals that you have out to the world is so powerful.
It is. And up until that point, I had been on Instagram for 2 years at that point already. And I had I would say it was a very pro-fat, sideshow-esque account where it was my eating exploits and just pictures of me not fitting in spaces and me saying, haha, isn't this great? And all of that. And I decided instead of starting a new account, I was going to change the focus of the account I had and talk about my journey and start sharing it. And I decided one of the things that I worked through was I realized that, like I said, I had focused on the scale before and on numbers, and I didn't really think about who I was as a person. And so what I determined that I didn't just need to think about Mike needs to lose weight. I needed to think about who does Mike want to be? Who does Mike want to be as a person? And does getting fitter and healthier, is that a part of that? It is. It is. I decided, like it really, living is a part of that. Being alive for people is a part of that. So when I started to lose focus at any point, I would go back to that why and try to remember what's going on and try to become cognizant of all those times that my brain would try to, because my brain still tells me to stop. This week, my brain was telling me to stop. Like as of right now, I'm 216 pounds. So I have a goal. I want to see the 190s. Like I've never done that as an adult, like, whether that happens or not, whatever. But I had a point this week where I was just like, you've been doing this for 2.5 years now. Like you've been dieting for 2.5 years. Like you're exhausted. Give up, give up for a week, give up for a day. And I know what that voice wants. I know who that voice is, and I know what would happen. So I feel stronger now in terms of being able to identify those challenges. So I think there's a difference to my awareness level as I go through this journey now. And I'm thinking about who I want to be when I get to the next stage of this journey. Instead of it just being about hitting a goal number, it's about continuing whatever this journey is what it becomes.
Awesome, man. Well, we're already longer than I was hoping that we would be. I'm not complaining about it. I thought that was a great conversation. I do want to ask you one thing,
Sure.
Kind of putting you on the spot. But if you were talking to someone that was maybe at that crossroads that we were talking about, like what would you tell that person that maybe did want to lose weight but just like didn't know where to start? Like what would you say to them?
That's a really good question. I think I've said this to some people before, but I think what people need to do is not overthink the decision. If you know that you need to lose weight, or you need to get healthier, even if that's your issue, you're realizing that you're developing health problems, start doing something. Find something that you understand, that you can wrap your head around, and start doing it. Because that doesn't have to be what you do every day for the next 20 years. Like it doesn't, if you pick one diet or one eating plan or you decide, like, I know, like, you've talked about like just eliminating junk. Like if you decide to do that one thing and that gets you so far but doesn't get you all the way, you could reassess. Like I think too often people tie themselves into one thing and don't realize that it's okay to make changes and variations. And for me, the tool that worked best for me was keto. For someone else, who knows what it'll be. I don't think there's also don't realize there's this, whatever the person next to you is doing is what you have to do. Find what you think you can live with and you can sustain, but really just start, get moving, because honestly, we can get paralyzed when we start to overanalyze things, paralysis by analysis. Like you're never going to have a perfect answer. There's never going to be a perfect plan in front of you. You're never going to have a perfect day every day. Just start doing something, and those little somethings will add up eventually and become a bigger something, whether you realize it or not. Like find your why, focus on that, and then just start moving forward. Because if you're not moving, even if you're just inching forward, like I say, some of us have mountains to move, and some of us have small piles of sand when it comes to weight loss and health. And sometimes we're digging with a spoon, and sometimes we're digging with a shovel. So even if you've just got a teaspoon and you're trying to dig your way through a mountain, keep digging, because eventually it's going to get smaller. So just start, just really get yourself started.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the channel and sharing your story, dude.
I really appreciate it. It was great to talk to you again, man. I really appreciate it.
So there you guys go. Again, huge thanks to Mike for coming on the channel and sharing his story. Please, you guys, I would love for you guys to check out all of his stuff that he has going on. So I will link everything down in the description. His podcast is awesome. So many great things that I really want you guys to check out. So make sure you check out all the links down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I am very, very excited about this series. I'm going to have a lot of different people that we're going to be interviewing and learning about. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. There was one other thing that I wanted to say. Oh yeah, look how buff I am.
Obey the warning signs, and when there are flashing lights or wigwags, don't attempt to cross until they come to a complete stop.